Evolution E-Drag in a nutshell. Electro Dragon will be the next evolution coming to Clash Royale. You can find it in the new Diamond Pass that I can't show yet, so subscribe for future sneak peek. Also use my code to pay my bills, okay thanks. Seems like it's a one cycle evolution, looking at the stats here, and it's the same as the normal E-Drag. Oh no. Infinite is not a good word in video games. Chat, I think we are cooked. Alright, so first things first, this means the normal E-Drag would eliminate a skeleton army 3x3. An evolved E-Drag would take it all out with only one hit, since he has infinite chains. The real problem though is how it says in his description that it can hit the same target more than once. Oof. So let me get this straight to you by putting 2 lava hounds. I will let my E-Drag hit them once and then NATO him away to the other side, and as you can see, this one hit will keep bouncing back and forth between the 2 lava hounds and will also start chaining on the lava pops after killing them. This electro ball thing will keep bouncing between the 2 targets until it kills one of them, in which then it would have nothing to bounce to and would in return just dissipate away. But to make sure the game doesn't die, it was designed in a way where it wouldn't bounce on towers infinitely. So basically, if I place a golem behind the tower, the attack wouldn't stun the tower and the golem infinitely. This logic also applies to King Tower, as they are also considered crown towers in this specific case. Oh, and to show that it's not a building related thing, here's a clip of a pump and giant getting absolutely destroyed. It also disappears very quickly, like it would be gone by the time a skeleton barrel pops, but it's not like it matters as he can just hit again. This means that let's say you play the Royal Giant and the enemy put an E-Drag, then playing something like a Hunter would realistically only make things worse. You are in this case better off by just leaving the Royal Giant alone, as you will end up getting a few extra hits instead of having him perma-stunned for a while. Basically, he deals best with swarms regardless of their HP, as skeleton swarms would die and tank swarms will just get stunned infinitely. Take an E-Golem for example. Before he splits, he seems to be kinda okay, just getting slowly closer to the tower. The moment this thing pops and it becomes a massacre, like dude, what is this bro? From this, it may look like 1 million elixir push will just get countered by only one hit from this E-Drag, and to an extent that is true, but actually something can be done. This electro attack disappears if you take out the Electro Dragon, giving you kind of a solution to save your push if you were able to kill him early. Let's all get ready to put lightning in every single deck. Wait, what? That's a thing? Freezing him also gets rid of his effect, so if your push is getting bullied, you could just drop that freeze to save it for a small amount of time. Looking at how he interacts with freeze, I decided to test him with zap, and as I expected, zapping him actually ends up removing the effect entirely. This made it feel like it's an Inferno Dragon kind of thing, so I tried pushing him back with a snowball and the effect stayed, so I guess his mechanics are closer to a Sparky reset. It seemed like you can't have 2 bolts at the same time, cause I made this healer setup and the bolts are disappearing. One could argue that they are only going away when they bump into each other here, because it does look like that's the case. So I made this weird goofy ass setup to see, and turns out it's time based, as the bolts aren't even completing a full cycle and are all stopping as soon as they reach this princess every time. So basically the first attack would kind of disappear a few seconds after he does his second attack. Normally, Electro Dragon shots can detect invisible stuff and damage them without any issues. What's interesting though is that the Evo E-Drag hits seems to completely ignore invisible stuff for whatever reason. I think it could be a bug, as they might have coded a different type of projectile for this evolution and then forgot to make it apply to things like Ghost and Suspicious Push, but maybe it's intended, who knows. Realistically, this little guy will be broken on defense, which is a nightmare for me as a Sparky player. Like this pro actually took out this push and barely got any damage on tower and even survived. Like, what more do you want from that? But seeing him do this to Expo warms my heart in ways I did not even know were possible, so maybe it isn't that bad. He is also absolutely busted against Graveyard because of his infinite chain. I think he alone can stop a Graveyard push without any issues. As long as you are using him against multiple targets, you should be fine. Some of these interactions are just depressing, but honestly, Drill deserves that. And champions would have their ability completely disabled when stun locked, as the time between two stuns is too little to allow a window of activation. I would imagine it would be different if there was multiple targets, but to be honest, you should be more worried about taking out the Electro Dragon, not your champion's ability. I also think it's worth mentioning your Evo E-Drag can get screwed over by an E-Wiz, as it would make the chain less oppressive and give their troops a tiny window to keep moving and attacking. Here's another crazy setup I created. Now you see my Evo Drag here? His bolts are traveling far enough to reach that level 12 princess right here. If the enemy plays a normal E-Drag on my Evo E-Drag, then the results would be different. I'm not gonna say this would save your troops, but having an Evo E-Drag get stunned makes this infinite chain less effective. As you can see here, the Electro bolts would sometimes stop midway because of the stuns, so that's something to consider. Actually, not just consider. This thing gets brutally destroyed by Electro Giant. It's crazy because he can't even get the third shock down. Ice Wiz is completely useless as the bolt doesn't get slowed down by him, so realistically I think there is almost no change if they slow that dragon down. On offense he would be significantly more effective. As you can see here, he clears swarms in a comical way. Even Evo skeletons don't produce enough skeletons to keep up with him. But at the end of the day, he can always get singled out by a phoenix or something, so what makes him broken is just his defensive capabilities. Like, he still isn't that hard to counter if you have the right tools to do so. King activations kinda remain the same as the regular E-Drag, since you can just deploy something to chain your king. But when it's evolved, the bolt would hit your troop on the way back, and it would also deal more damage to your crown tower, so watch out from that. I would like to end today's video with a moment of silence to all the fallen Sparky Wait, what if Evo Sparky makes it so you can't shock it to reset its charge? Would that be OP? Probably not, considering this Evo E-Drag was actually put in the game, my dudes.